Next on the agenda, we have a very interesting, incredible India. Are we prepared for the growth that happens? We've been talking about growth. We've been talking about digitalization. One important question is, are we prepared? Are we prepared for the growth that is coming? And to get that started, we're going to call upon a few people from the industry and to moderate. As I call the name, I request the person to come on board. And since we're running short on time, I'm going to be very brief in reading the profile of the person as well. And we will have somebody welcome them up here. So can I first request the moderator for the event, Aarti Krishna, to please come up on the dais. And can I request Apurva to do the honors when she comes up. As she comes up, I'm just going to give you a quick heads up on her. She's a management accountant by profession, holds an MBA degree, has spent 18 years in Hindu and is an analyst. She now is a consulting editor with Value Research, is an advisor with TVS Capital and Athena Informatics, among others. That's Aarti Krishna. Would you like to?
And to join us for the discussion, we have with us Kamala K. Can we have ma'am to kindly come on stage? Kamala K. currently is the head mutual funds at NSC. Even as she walks up to the stage, I would request all of you to cheer her with a big round of applause. And to do the honors,
Ramesh Bhatt.
Can I request Mr. Ramesh Bhatt to felicitate ma'am with a Ponnade?
Next up, can I request Sharma, our good old friend from head non-bank alliances from L&T. Sharma is no stranger to the mutual fund industry, has over 20 years of experience in financial services. And can I request Padmanabhan to do the honors to Sharma? V. Padmanabhan, Chennai, is he there? Anita, can I request Anita Bhatt to please do the honors to Sharma?
And to join the group discussion, we have another interesting personality. May I request Vikram Akhori to kindly come on stage. Vikram is Director and National Sales Head Retail at DHFL Pramerica Asset Managers Private Limited. A big round of applause, please. And to felicitate Mr. Vikram, may I request Ramakrishnan from Madurai to kindly come on stage and present a shawl. All right, Mr. Srinivasan is here to felicitate Mr. Vikram, please. Can I hear it for him?
Next up is Mr. Manish Sharma. Manish Sharma is the Zonal Head South for Edelweiss Mutual Fund. Please come up, sir. Manish Sharma is a Master's in Finance with 14 years of sales and marketing experience. And to do the honors, can I request S.R. Chandrasekhar to please come up and do the honors for Manish Sharma?
All right, okay, and the next person who's going to join us on stage is Mr. Neerav Kaushik. Put your hands together for Mr. Neerav. Well, he is the Vice President and he's responsible for Franklin Templeton Travel Agent Business for Asia region. A big round of applause to him, please. And to do the honors, may I request Ikriti Rao to kindly come on stage. Ikriti Ramaya to kindly come on stage, please. Well, can we give it up for Mr. Neerav Kaushik?
Next Next up, we have Mr. Balakrishna Kini, the Deputy CEO of Amphi. And to do the honors is Mr. Ganesh to please come up. Briefly, he's an MBA from NMIMS Bombay, 25 years in UTI, 5 years in Reliance MF, and 3.5 years in Pramerica MF. He's a mutual fund man all through. And Ganesh to do the honors. Can we request Mr. Srikanth of CAMS to please join up? Sorry.
Well, let's welcome Mr. Srikanth with a big round of applause, please.
And Sridevi Ganesh, can we have do the honors?
Can I hear it from the audience from the back as well? Can I hear all of you? Mr. Babu, we have such an amazing lineup full of distinguished guests, so it's definitely going to be a very interesting session.
I am looking forward to it. Aarti ma'am, over to you. Please carry on. Thank you.
Good morning. Very nice to be here at the IFA Galaxy meeting. Though I think they've been a little unkind to me in giving me in such a large panel and giving me only 45 minutes time. So I'll have to cut short everybody into 2 minutes, I think. So I request the panelists to keep their comments brief because everybody should get an opportunity to express their views. It's nice to attend this particular IFA Galaxy meeting because we are poised at an inflection point in the industry, I think. It's usual for many events to have Vision 2020 as their theme. But this time, I really think that the industry can look forward to really good growth in the next 10 years or so. There are 2 or 3 reasons on which I base this prediction. Firstly, we've seen huge amount of inflows come into both debt and equity funds in the last 1 year or so. In fact, data says that around 8 billion of inflows has come in. And this is the retail participation that we've been trying so hard to drive for the past 10 years or more. And in the period between 2008 and 2013, there was such a flat period in the markets, you would despair of actually telling anybody to buy mutual funds. People would simply not buy the argument. Today, we are not in that situation. The return experience of investors has improved vastly, both in debt and equity funds. And we've had 8 billion of inflows. The 8 billion number is so large, in fact, the typical FI inflows into Indian markets in a year are 16 to 17 billion. This is nearly half that number, so it's something to really be proud of. Secondly, from the secondary market data, there is evidence that more and more retail investors, instead of directly dabbling in equities, are coming through the mutual fund route. If you look at the ownership patterns in the stock exchanges, in the CNX 500 companies, the retail holding directly in stocks has stagnated even through this bull market, but the holdings via mutual funds have really gone up by 3 to 4 percentage points. This shows that actually retail investors are beginning to buy the argument that this investing in equity on their own is a full-time exercise and they cannot do it really. They'll have to rely on professionals. The third point I see today, which I see as a great trigger for growth, is the improving return experience. Rarely do equity and debt both offer great investing opportunities. Today we are in that situation where the equity market is not overly valued and we can see prospects for growth. Similarly, debt, everybody knows interest rates are going to come down and therefore debt mutual funds can give you double-digit returns. Therefore, having summed up my views like this, I'll just go on to our panelists to get more numbers on what they think about recent inflows and do they think whether the recent flows are sustainable. Over to Mr. Kini from Amphi. If you could just tell us your view of how inflows have panned out in the last 1 year and whether you think it is a sustainable trend going forward.
Yeah, thank you, Aarti. If you see there has been a consistent increase month on month. Last 17 consecutive months we have seen, for example, September, net inflows into the mutual fund. And although in the month of September, newspaper reports give a slightly distorted picture about 77,000 crore outflow, net outflow. But I'm happy to share that there has been a net inflow from retail to the extent of 7,400 crores. Yeah. So this is a very positive signal because September is a half year and a quarter, so there is anyway a lot of corporate money end of the quarter goes out. And in the last, since the new government has come, month on month, there has been a sustained increase in the number of inflows into the mutual fund, and largely from the retail investors. Number of folios have gone up. It was around 4 crore folios as of last June 2015, and currently it has gone to more than 4.5 crores. And out of this, the increase from, we had done, I think yesterday Mr. Bala mentioned in his inaugural speech, current year we just did a tracking of new PANs added, because that's an indication of the new investors coming into the industry. And we found very interestingly in the first 5 months alone, there has been an addition of about 10 lakh new PANs, whether it is first, second or third. But it's a very positive thing for the industry that there has been almost 10 lakh new investors coming into the fold of mutual fund industry. And if you compare it with the increase of about 50 lakh new folios added during the year, it's almost 20% of that is a new are the new investors coming. It's a very encouraging sign for the industry.
Actually, Ms. Kamala, actually, I would like to know, there's been a change in the retail investor behavior also, right, this time? I think in August, for example, when the markets fell so sharply on a single session, everybody was expecting outflows, but actually they were inflows, right? Do you have any data to actually support?
Actually, we have seen a major difference in last 3 months when volatility in market has increased. And also we had global factors affecting the Indian market. It is the Indian domestic institutions dominated by mutual fund industry, which is backed by the retail investors, which played a very important role in stabilizing the market. I think that I would see as a very, very positive response. And distributor community and investor community need to be very greatly applauded for all the efforts that they have taken in increasing the awareness amongst investors. So investors are continuing to be part of the industry. Even though they were winding up position on the market, on the mutual fund side, they were pumping in money. That is the sign of a matured market. I think we appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. Can I hear it from the manufacturers? Vikram, maybe you can tell us, do you think the understanding of both equity and debt funds has improved in this particular cycle? Because debt especially is a complicated product. But still for retail investors today on a post-tax basis, it makes a lot of sense to invest in debt funds also. So do you think the understanding has improved in the industry?
Aarti, couple of things. Yeah. Kini sir mentioned about 4.5 crores. We're discussing numbers, big inflows, 3 months positive for retail. Let me share with you that in September 2009, the industry had 4.8 crore folios. And today, with all this enthusiasm which has started, we are still at 4.5 crores. You started your initial comments by saying, is the returns from the market attracting the investors into the funds? Definitely the case. If you were to go back and look at it, I think year 2000, 2001, the industry was sitting at about less than 1 lakh crores. Number of folios, few lakhs. It was at the back of the tech boom. Then we had the infrastructure boom of 2008. From a few lakhs, if my memory serves me right, it was about 10 or 12 lakh folios, keeping UTI, Stuti out, that the industry had, which became 4.8 crores in 2009, which was the next bull. I think it's a given fact that we are in a bull, right? So if one was to do a simple arithmetic, we are talking about 20 lakhs approximately going to 4.8 crores, which is approximately 24 times. I think this bull run would see us reach at least 5 to 6 times. So we're talking about a big potential increase coming in. And how is this happening? Obviously, returns front lead everything. Today, there is participation happening in debt because debt funds are giving superlative returns. Yield funds are giving upwards of 13%. Dynamic bond funds are giving 13%, 14%, 15%. FDs the rates are being cut. Yeah. So automatically, investors get drawn into this entire situation. But unfortunately, with the 3-year taxation which has come into debt funds, it's been a bit of a dampener. But I think the industry is mature enough to get over it. And we're going to see a huge amount of inflows, both in terms of equity and debt. Interestingly, again, data that AMFI puts out, if one was to look at it, B15 locations seem to be doing better on debt. Okay. The proportion of debt from B15 locations of retail investors is close to about 50-50. And from T15 locations, it is skewed towards equity on the retail side. I'm not talking about the institutional or the corporate side, on the retail side. So the question of awareness, one can assume that T15 awareness is higher than B15. But if B15, we are seeing a lot more debt money coming in as a proportion of total collections. And again, B15 growth rate has been substantial. And let me tell you that the debt money coming into B15 is not because of the additional brokerage being paid on B15 on debt fund. That doesn't happen. So clearly, the advisors are doing a fantastic job of educating. And I think with the help of the advisors reaching out, we are poised for a multifold growth from here.
Neerav, do you also agree with that in terms of B15 debt improving and...
So I broadly I do agree. I think in the B15, the large story is in still equity. So when I look at the data, both for us as a company, but as well as the industry, and clearly I agree with my fellow panelists that a lot of that is because of people in this room and more, where they're trying to show that picture to the investor that in spite of the fact that you are in a B15 town or you may not have all the access, but I can bring you a tool which is mutual fund, an equity side, which is fairly compelling. So numbers, I think equity about maybe, if you look at equity, you look at folios, large part of B15 is captured by the IFA community and definitely in equities continues to do very well.
The other healthy trend actually has been the rising proportion of SIPs in the overall flows, right? So we talked about this tendency of investors to chase returns. So when returns are high, they come in. But when there are larger proportion of inflows are happening through SIPs, those are not return chasing investors, right? So may I know what proportion of the total flows is SIPs today and what it was maybe 5 years ago or so? From CAMS, basically.
So, as far as SIPs is concerned, we've certainly seen a significant jump. If you look at live folios with SIPs, we've seen our book rise from about 36 lakh folios to 52 lakhs today in the last 1 year. And that's almost a 40-45% increase in the number of live SIP folios. However, and if you look at new folios, the percentage of folios with SIP has also risen in proportion, in relative proportion. But what certainly remains to be seen is that if you take the total live folios and compare them with total live SIP folios, we are still looking at, on a relative basis, SIPs being only about 20% to 25% of the total folios in the books. What that means is SIPs have seen a healthy trend in the last 1 year. There's been a relatively higher proportion of investors going for SIPs, but if you look at the overall market, a significant opportunity remains for all of us to work towards encouraging more and more investors, even the existing investors, we are not talking about new investors, existing investors to get into the market and participate in SIPs. And I think IFAs such as the person sitting here are equipped correctly to reach out to existing investors and encourage them to take more and more into the SIPs.
So we seem to be agreed that there are growth opportunities in equities, in debt, in increasing the retail penetration, in increasing the SIPs and so on, right? So let's see whether the industry is really prepared to handle this kind of growth. So the first thing, of course, everybody's talked about technology. So let me ask Mrs. Kamala, in what way can technology enable IFAs to actually tap into a larger client base? Because the key thing I think that holds back IFAs is that the lot of legwork that they need to do in order to get new clients and to keep in touch with them. So how is the NSE's technology platform actually helping?
See, basically, if you analytically see the past profile of distributors, even though they were soliciting new clients, significant amount of their time would get used up in running the back office operations, making sure that all the reports reach their customers on time, and it involved lots of paperwork. So this paperwork consumed a lot of their energies, I would guess. And today with new platforms coming in, they would be more able to focus on relationships and trust building and use technology as an enabler to service clients better. But I would also, in the earlier session, we spoke about use of technology in anticipating what the customer would need. I would request and urge all distributors to be one step ahead. You don't wait for your customer to come and tell you what he would be needing. You develop your relationship to an extent where you would be proactively telling your customer, "Arey, this goalpost of yours, these are the steps that you should be taking." The more you concentrate on trust building and giving a good advice, which will give value to customer, that will help you grow your business, I would say, geometrically.
In light of the coming expansion in asset base, how well are AMCs geared in terms of their investment teams, marketing teams, service staff, and so on to handle growth? Because we've seen too many years of the stagnant growth where people have got used to slow growth rates. So do you think AMCs are geared to handle this expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. The reason being is that the number of research analysts as well as the fund manager has been allocated here in most of the AMCs, that it is on the we track around 400 to 500 stocks in the equity segment, and debt segment we track one X number of this thing. Have been geared up to manage even a lakh of crores, and even small AMCs also have the same set of team also been put in place. Any time of the growth start coming to them, they'll be able to manage that. In fact, it is not about the AUMs to come, then only we can put the people. But it's actually all well prepared to manage any kind of a growth which is going to come to the AMCs.
Right. That's a question I'd like to put to Manish also, in terms of you're a new kid on the block actually, though you have many unique products. I'd like to know how far is Edelweiss actually prepared for a scaling up of assets. Suppose the assets go up by 4 or 5 times. Are AMCs investing in the business? Because for long we've heard this, that AMCs are not so profitable. You have frequent consolidation happening in the industry. So how geared are they in terms of investments?
So I'll take this question in 2 ways. One, there's a lot of opportunity which is there in market, right? And for any manufacturer, that is something which make them always ready that we have to capture the market. So keeping that in mind, the kind of enthusiasm that is there in market. So we are also prepared for that. AMC may be new business for us, but managing assets is something which Edelweiss thinks is long. That is our forte. So backing with our research on our broking side and our offshore businesses, we are fully prepared for that. Yeah.
This is a question I'd like to put to you, Mr. Kinney. Basically, one thing that the mutual fund industry has faced is that the agent force has actually come down over the last 10 years or so. In fact, the best retail reach was reached by UTI. Since then, I don't think any fund house has managed to replicate that retail reach. So do we have enough feet on the street actually to drive this growth over a period? And what has AMFI been doing to expand the IFA numbers also?
See, if you see you're right. I remember during my UTI days, we used to boast that we have 90,000 agents. One of the reasons for that number to come down drastically is because there was introduction of this certification, which SEBI made it mandatory. So all the people who were, had to undergo that process. So suddenly there was a drop, and then it just gradually picked it up. If you see, but like Vikram said, that 2008, after that there was a continuous drop in the AUM, SIP is shrinking, month-on-month folio is shrinking. Yeah. Currently, of course, he says, yes, it looks that we are 4.5 crore, etc. But what we have to remember is that the folios had gone down so much that there was almost a panic in the industry. Therefore, SEBI came out with a circular to give a lot of steps to energize the mutual fund industry. This additional incentive for B15 cities, making the TR fungible, etc. AMC, from AMFI side, what we see is that on one side, currently there is a healthy increase in the number of distributors in the last 1 year. Yes, it was shrinking, partly because of this certification and partly because of number of distributors had found probably they were disillusioned or enchanted with the industry. Like one of my speakers earlier mentioned that they were going to real estate and such kind of allied businesses, but they're slowly coming back into the mutual fund fold, which is evident from the fact that there has been a steady increase in the number of ARN that we are allotting. Currently, we have roughly 66,000 mutual fund KYD compliant ARN holders and almost equal number of employees who are corporate, because for institutional distributor like a bank, it is the employees who are the feet on the street. So we have currently about 66,000 ARN holders and 66,000 EIUN. Absolutely inadequate if you consider the number of population. But what we find is that, which is an encouraging sign, that in the B15 towns, where there was, the number of ARN registrations is much higher than it is in the T15 cities, which is a good sign. And I think the AMC is also taking a lot of steps. We have actually done some tie-up with NISM, that in a center, suppose any educational institution or any of the AMC also gets a batch of say 50 students or 50 interested people. NISM would, through one of their CP service providers, would conduct a session, 2-day session of doing this NISM certification. They'll conduct a test. We have even tied up with CAMS. CAMS will go with their biometric machine to the exam center and there and then do the KYD, etc., so that this ARN process is hastened. We are now taken a decision in AMFI that we will do away probably with this biometric that CAMS is doing, because we are going to shift to Aadhaar-based thing, wherein you get 10 fingerprints instead of 1 or 2 thumb impressions and iris print also. So once the there is a focus on eKYC by the regulators, we are going in the same direction, at least to start with for the ARN and EIN process. So this whole registration and renewal process becomes much simpler. We are also thinking of doing this renewal online. So once a person is registered with us, subsequent registration can be done online by just, the payment of renewal fees. Rest of the things are not required. So, but your basic question is whether we have adequate number of feet on the street. No. According to, personally, I feel there is a lot more the AMCs need to bring in more ARN into the fold. And from AMFI side, we are trying to make life easier for the existing as well as the new people by simplifying the process. Thank you.
Recently, we've had this controversial Sumit Bose committee report, which basically has said that all financial products should try to move to full trail model, that too with trail coming down over the years. Now, I think coming down over the years is a very drastic recommendation, but is our distribution committee even prepared for a full trail model, or is it very early to talk of these things, Vikram?
Arti, once again, I'll pick up from where Kini sir left. He gave some numbers, 66,000 ARN and 66,000 EOIN, which is corporate. So corporate, which is banks and national distributors, let's just keep it out because it will be a handful, 200, 300, 400, 500. That's it. 66,000 ARN who are KYD. I don't think that's a relevant statistics. What is relevant is what CAMS can tell us. How many brokerage checks are sent out every month? On a monthly basis, my estimation is that it will be not even hitting a 10,000 kind of a number.
Maybe we should get his.
Am I right?
Slightly higher number than that. I think around 15 to 20,000. It varies month on month. That's the range of active distributors.
So actually, we are talking about 15 to 20,000. That's a 33% variation. Let's stick with 15,000. Number of active distributors in the market today. We're talking about 4.5 crore folios. Reality is, by and large, every investor has at least 3 folios. We're talking about 1.5 crore investors. India has a population of 125 crores. 50% below the poverty line assumption. That's 60 crores. Mutual fund is a product category wherein you don't need to consider households because now everybody is investing in their names. So kids SIP starts thanks to the drive of SIPs. So we're talking about potentially 60 crore investors being there. Yes, this is a good phase. Returns are supporting. So possibly this 1.5 crores is going to jump to 6 crores, 7 crores. Our friends are all sitting here. They can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it is humanly impossible to service more than 500 odd investors. Right? So if you're talking about reaching, say, 7.5 crores and 500 investors per individual, that gives the arithmetic of the number of new distributors which need to come into the fold. I think it is not individual responsibility of AMCs. I think it's a collective responsibilities of distribution, AMCs, regulators, everybody put together, including media, because that's where most of the education actually happens. There's been some amount of good work which has happened. I think we need to start on a war footing. The focus has to shift that in the sense we need to get into organized savings. Humongous proportion goes into fixed assets, which is real estate and gold. Unproductive. Gold monetization is happening. I don't know how much is going to kick off with that. But we need to channelize savings into productive assets, which is equity, fixed income from mutual fund. If you look at it, mutual fund, even with the current cost structures, is the least cost pass-through vehicle available for Indian investors. And Sumit Bose's committee report suggests that we need to move to a full trail model, decreasing. I think 15,000 would start looking like few hundreds. That's existing. Let's talk about new distributors. Where can new distributors come from? We are all from corporate world. Today we want new employees. We either go and poach from each other, or we go to B schools and start hiring. When we go to a B school, and if we go to the C grade or the D grade B school, even there we need to offer at least about 2.5-3 lakhs annual compensation, which is approximately about 20 to 25,000 rupees a month. Assume that this individual we can motivate. We are such great motivational speakers that we go into B schools and we motivate people that you have finished your specialization in finance. Why don't you look at distribution as a career and set up a distribution business? And I'm sure all our friends sitting here would be more than willing to provide training and support that is required for them to start the business. Now, this individual would consider this if he's able to, at least over a period of 1 year, come to a situation wherein he makes as much as a job would be offering him, right? So if he has to make 2.5 lakhs through trail income, assuming 100% equity and decreasing, you're talking about 2.5 to 3 crores of equity AUM. So we are expecting this individual to be in a position to go and tell people that, listen, I am a fresher, I'm learning, I'm starting my business, you have 10 lakhs in your account, why don't you cut out a check for this AMC with my code on it? I wouldn't. I will possibly give him a 2,000 rupee SIP, but I won't cut out a 10 lakh rupee check. If he's not going to be in a position to reach a 3 crore kind of an AUM in year 1, he does that in year 3. Then he needs to think of his investment into the business, because it is not only his salary, but also the costs, fixed costs and variable costs to do the business. So he needs to, back of the envelope calculation, set up this business with a 10 lakh rupee corpus. If the industry as a whole is willing to put that kind of money upfront and offer it to them, that listen, I will capitalize you to the extent of 10 lakhs. Why don't you get into this? I don't think the distribution is going to increase. And the Sumit Bose committee report, if it gets implemented in the current suggestive format, is going to have issues for the growth of the industry.
Yeah. But the positive offshoot may be that commissions may be lowered for the other products, non-MF products, and maybe MF sales can improve, right?
Aarti, if you were to look at all the products which have been covered under Sumit Bose committee report, you will find that mutual funds already are the least commission products.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So, Neeraj, I think FT deals a lot with IFAs, right? A lot of the sales happen through this channel. So, how are you looking at commission structures for the future? Because I mean, a lot of debate around this.
So I think, say commission structure, I'm sure is sensitive to all of us as we get our salaries. Our IFA friends obviously look at commissions as their source of income. I would agree partially with Vikram. I think it's very difficult to look at only one way of remunerating any partner, right? I think this is a little bit of theory as well as the logic, right? From a theoretical perspective, a full trail model seems to be working for all the stakeholders. It works for the customer, it should work for the distributor, it should work for the AMC. Now, where you have to find a balance is that at what level does it start to make sense? I don't think you can paint the picture completely for everybody in the room saying, okay, this will work for everyone. So you'll have to take some balancing view to say, okay, maybe to Vikram's point, for the new ones, can I start to look at, and actually in our experience, there are many of the IFAs in these rooms and outside, they have come themselves and saying, we would want to go on full trail. Because they figured out the mathematics as well to say, okay, when I stand as an IFA in front of my investor, and I tell him my remuneration is based on how much money you make, right? I'm able to convince him much more vis-a-vis saying that, okay, every 3 months or 1 year I will have to churn because, obviously I have to make some more money. So I don't think there is a very straightforward answer. And I definitely agree that from a long-term perspective, if all the interests could be aligned, I think we'll go a long way as an industry. But you'll have to balance that. How do you give upfront to make sure that people survive, they can make enough money and make sure that that works for all of them.
I think for a full trail model, etc., to work, the holding period of the investor has to be really high. You cannot really recoup your business costs in 1 or 2 years if investors are going to pull out. And actually, so therefore, I would like data on how long do investors typically hold their funds, and is it remunerative for the, unlike insurance where actually there is a lot of premature surrender, etc. happening and a lot of phone calls you get saying surrender your policy. In MFs, it is the investor who takes the decision usually to redeem. So what is the holding period typically?
So one of the earlier questions was around, are investors more willing to invest in equity now than, let's say 4 or 5 years back or during the last boom? So when we looked at the average holding period in equity investments, we find that it is still about 900 days. What that means, and as all of us know, for it to make long-term sense to the investor and therefore to the IFAs and everyone in the market, it needs to be at least 5 or 6 times of, 3 to 5 times of that number. But the reality is that even today, average tenure is only around 900 days. And as an industry, we need to continue to educate existing investors and whoever comes into the market now on the benefits of long-term compounding, on the benefits of professional management of their investments. I don't think, despite the current boom, we see evidence of investors wanting to stay longer based on actual data on the ground.
What sort of data does AMFI have on this? I mean, I know you put out holding period data for investors, right? How many investors hold for less than 2 years, more than 2 years? Do you see that investors are becoming more long-term, or what has been your...
AMFI doesn't track this kind of data, at least currently. We do not have the holding period of historic data. That the RTAs are probably compiling, because they are servicing.
On a half-yearly basis, I do see your website disseminating across investor categories, how many people held for less than 12 months, more than 24 months and so on?
No. I think that must be coming from...
CAMS, is it?
Yeah, CAMS.
Okay, right.
Aarti, can I interject? Thanks to this session, I actually spent some time in the morning on the way into this place on the AMFI website, and I looked at the data. June 2015 data, more than 50% of the equity assets are over 2 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. It is a snapshot in time, end of 2015 June. 50% of equity assets are older than 2 years, 50% are new, which is likely to happen because the bull has just started and the collections have picked up. It doesn't, to Kinney's point, it doesn't talk about the longevity of assets. But the data of 900-day holding period, from 2008, 8th of Jan 2008, 21,000 odd index, to, I think, end of 2013, again 21,000 index. A fairly long period of time with no returns.
I know.
Gold, outstanding returns. Real estate, stupendous. Fixed income, steady. You can't blame the investors for taking the money out. I think in the next 2-3 years, if you were to do the same session, this is 6th, 9th, you would see a different data holding period altogether. It's about getting the investors at the right time, and you will find the longevity going up.
Mr. Sharma, what has been your observation? Are investors becoming more long-term? And now actually SEBI also forces AMCs to spend this 2 basis points on investor awareness. Can that money not be used to actually promote this concept of long-term investments? In fact, even in debt nowadays, you need long-term investments to make the most of tax benefits. Yeah.
In fact, it's not only AMCs, most of the, almost all IFAs, everybody is spending a lot of time with the investors, making them aware that how long-term creates a wealth. In fact, if you see that most of the marketing material we recently put, not recently, just I'm saying that, especially during the bad times of the 12, 13, at that point of time also we just said that stay long-term, stay long-term. There are some people listen, there are some people not listen, but still those who listen to the IFA's advice, they all made a lot of money for themselves. And we also spending as an AMC fraternity that the 2 basis points also not only about talking about mutual fund, we also talk, one of the points is here how equities build wealth over a long period of time. I think graphs and data on every WhatsApp, every website, as well as on the PPTs, we talk about the leaflets on this topic. Definitely we are spending a lot of time and energy on this. I'm sure investors also understood that. When markets were up, people didn't come for the redemption this time. When markets are down also, people did not come for redemption. The day when 640 points is down, we actually had a lot of inflows. We didn't get any call for saying that, what should we do? I think IFA friends have done a phenomenal job for last 6-7 years, and especially toughest times, and they really stood with the investors, and as well as they took that message and communicated to the investors very well. Hats off to all of them.
Can I just add?
Yeah.
Obviously all of us do a lot of customer surveys just to reach out to customers and ask them what do they feel at different point in time. One thing which clearly comes out is that at least major part of the customers say that I will do what my advisor tells me to do, right? So to the point that are the customer investing for long or the tenure is going long, I'll flip it to say at least basis what we see, the distribution community now betting long. And when that long betting happens, likely to emerge on the customer pattern as well. So, and that's the major trend to notice. I'm sure most of the people here, if you ask them, they'll probably say that now they can bet much more strongly on some of the stories mutual fund is building, probably what they could do in the past. So I think that's how it will probably fall on the customers as well.
In terms of the mutual funds platform that NSE actually is trying to kick off, you were also saying in a previous conversation that it allows IFAs to tap into customers in remote locations also. Can you tell us something about that?
The platform that NSE and others are now developing and offering are all portal-based platform where the reach and expansion can be instantaneous, and there is hardly any investment that is required at the distributor end. All that he would require is a simple PC or a laptop or a desktop, whatever, and internet facility. So he doesn't need to invest in hardware, he doesn't need to invest on developing application software, he doesn't need to on an ongoing basis update the software, or some changes have hit from the market side, regulator has made a change, he has to now put in efforts for modifying a software. All those troubles are taken care. So they should look at using existing platform for two reasons. We earlier spoke about commissions being sensitive and going down. Now, if you use a platform which is offering service to multiple distributors, that means you are operating in a shared infrastructure model, which will bring down your cost. Like your income is coming down, it is very important for you to ensure that your costs are minimal. So I think these platforms are a great opportunity for distributors for instantaneous expansion, as well as not to put time, energy, money in development of the software. So all that they need to do is orient themselves to use these products in a way that will benefit the investor community.
I think what we've seen is there are essentially two parts to leveraging technology for investor convenience. One is providing the ability to do transactions and leverage certain services, which is essentially the front of what's in front of the investor, and the second is automation at the back end, which is what registrar and transfer agent mostly does. For the front end, for the investors, we've provided mobile solutions. MyCAMS is a platform that has been launched as a mobile app, and that brings anytime, anywhere convenience for the investors. We've also had email and SMS confirmations, which now provide a lot of comfort at every stage of the transaction for the investor. For the distributor community, Finnet has always been a platform for a while now. Anytime, anywhere solutions in the form of CAMS Slate and CAMS Swift have also been launched. And now we are ready to launch an extension of MyCAMS for all the distributors and IFAs. So that's one portion of convenience for the investor. The second is something that not easily perceived is what happens at the back end, which is around processing of at a significant scale. As I mentioned, SIPs have grown from 36 lakhs to 52 lakhs. And that's a 42% increase in volume just in a span of 9 months to 1 year. And the fact that that is being serviced without a blip is actually because at the back end there has been significant investment in technology infrastructure over the last 5 to 6 year period when there was a general lull in the marketplace. Continuing investment in technology, we believe, is what will be the future. I think a lot of us spoke about digitalization. We have been moving in that direction, and we will continue to invest that.
Yeah. So coming back to our main agenda, that is, are we ready for the for this growth which is there? I just want to share one of my personal experience. That what, as you said, we are new kid on the block. So what making us a lot of why we are very interested in this business. One, this community of partners, I have seen their appetite for learning has increased day by day. Number one. Number two, nowadays they are putting all the efforts to make it a very, very strong business for them. They are weighing which software is good for them, which platform is good for them. They are not just taking the product to clients like any other product. They are going into deep why it is good for my client and all. So this is a big shift, and I feel we are ready for this next level. That's my personal feeling. Thank you.
I think we are running out of time. Lunch bell has rung. So I thank all the panelists for very insightful comments and data on the mutual fund industry. The takeaways have been very strong from this. First is everybody is confident that we have very good days of growth ahead. and the data from ANFI, etc., shows that investor behavior also is changing for the better, and people are more aware today of how they should behave in adverse market situations. Hopefully, IFAs will capitalize on all this and enter the next era of growth over the next 10 years. Thank you for a patient listening.
Can we have a loud round of applause? I think we've got a collective wisdom of a lot of people out here. Thank you, Aarti, for excellent moderation. Can I request Aarti to please hand over a small memento to all the panelists? Can I request Mr. A.K. Narayan to join up to hand over a memento to Ms. Aarti?
Louder round of applause, please, for our panelists and the moderator.